Joining me on the Meg Ellison Show. Very happy to have as my guest during this hour from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. Great organization. Will attorney Lauren Groyle. Oh my gosh, I blew it.
You got it in the end. That's all that matters.
I practiced and everything. But so, Lauren, how's it going? I am grateful that you are taking a little time out of your day to share this story, which I thought was interesting. And I thought, I don't know, I guess we can. I don't think that there will ever be a time when a conservative can just sit back and relax. We have to be ever vigilant about what is going on in our country, what the left is going to pull next. And, if we believed that DEI had come to a grinding halt, think again, because it still rears its ugly head throughout the country. And you have some clients, not in Wisconsin, but in Indiana, and would like for you to describe your clients and what happened with this particular middle school in Akron, Indiana.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on to discuss this today, Meg, because you're so right that, there is never a moment where we can just stop, because this is happening all over the country. It's happening all over the Midwest, basically in our backyard in Indiana. And in this situation, there was a middle school, so we're talking 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, that had a party for just Hispanic students. So a 6th grade teacher pulled all the Hispanic students out of class, made all the other students who weren't Hispanic, who weren't the right race for this party, sit in a study hall while the teacher held a Three Kings Day party for the Hispanic students. What's crazy about this situation, if racial segregation isn't crazy enough for you, is that the school posted about the party on Facebook, posted photos from the party and this whole caption saying that the teacher loves celebrating traditions. The students were thrilled to honor their culture in their classroom, that the school loves embracing cultural traditions. Meanwhile, they literally have all of the students who aren't Hispanic in a study hall sitting, listening to their students, their peers, in another room celebrating.
Gosh, I don't know why they couldn't have let all the kids celebrate. I mean, because that would be a great learning experience for non-Hispanic kids. It's so strange to me. I remember back in the 1800s when I was in elementary school, I had a 2nd grade teacher that preferred to teach not just from textbooks, but we got to actually act out history in little plays or vignettes. And I distinctly remember learning about Harriet Tubman and learning about Chief Joseph, and we got to participate in plays. And I was in a pretty predominantly white suburb of the Twin Cities, so there weren't a lot of Native Americans or even Black children in my school. There were a few, but we were allowed to participate. And that's, really, that's all that I would imagine these parents of these non-Hispanic students would like, is that they not be excluded from these types of learning experiences.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate that the teacher didn't see, like you're saying, the opportunity to share this culture, this particular holiday with students who may not celebrate it normally, because it's a really good opportunity to get to know your peers better, to get to know their traditions better, and to be much more accepting of your fellow students because you have a better understanding of their culture and of their background. And the harmful effects of this kind of racial segregation were actually central to the Supreme Court of the United States landmark decision. You may have heard of it, Brown versus Board of Education, which was decided over 70 years ago. I think the anniversary is coming up quickly here in May of that decision. And in that decision, the court explained that separating students solely because of their race generates a feeling of inferiority to their other students in the community, and it may affect their hearts and minds in a way that likely will never be undone. And that sentiment is really, really important here. We have been fighting against racial segregation for decades and decades and decades. And now we're seeing that there are teachers who want to be activists, and they are segregating students again. It's really unfortunate.
I mean, I'm still trying to, just wrap my mind around how this, and I mean, this wasn't just the actions of one teacher. I mean, this was the I presume some of the administration within this school that made this decision. Is that correct?
Well, right. They posted about it on Facebook, how much they just love having all of their Hispanic students in one room to celebrate while all the other students sit in another classroom. That's paraphrasing, obviously, but, it's really frustrating. You can actually see the Facebook post and all the pictures in our complaint that we have attached to our press release that we've shared on our website, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty website. So you can go ahead and read that for yourself. But yeah, it is really just mind-boggling that this is something that schools and teachers think is acceptable in 2025.
And I'm just quickly going to Tippecanoe Valley Middle School to see if if they've pulled that post. I mean, I don't, now that they've been served with your, I presume you've sent a letter, or maybe you haven't even sent anything to the school per se, but encouraging the Trump administration to investigate. Maybe they're trying to scrub anything that might implicate them or at least further confirm what they were participating in.
Yeah, that's right, actually. They have already taken the Facebook post down. It's our understanding, actually, that they took the Facebook post down as soon as parents started complaining to the administration that their student was left out of this party. So they knew, they knew that they had done something wrong even then. And yeah, just to give a little bit of background about what we're doing here, what we're asking for, we filed a Title VI complaint. So Title VI is a federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So Tippecanoe Valley Middle School is a public middle school that receives federal funding, so they are required to follow Title VI. And specifically under Title VI, schools are not allowed to restrict an individual in any way of the enjoyment or any advantage or privilege enjoyed by others receiving any service or other benefit under the program on the basis of race. So this squarely falls into a Title VI violation. We believe it's a Title VI violation. We're asking the Trump administration, the Department of Education, and the Department of Justice to open an investigation into the school district's conduct here. And our complaint has been received, but we are still waiting to hear whether the Department of Education or the DOJ will officially open an investigation into the school district. So that's where things stand right now.
A good rule of thumb would be to substitute, let's just say that there was an event celebrating white students only. How well would that fly in any public school in the United States of America?
Exactly. And when did the basis of race become what we judge everybody on? Martin Luther King said he dreams of a world where we're judging people on the basis of their character, not on their skin color. And here, again, we're separating out students on the basis of their ethnicity or their race, and it's just, we're going back to a time that is a really shameful time in our nation's history when we really, in 2025, need to be inclusive of all students, of all races, and anytime there's a benefit enjoyed by one, there must be the same benefit enjoyed by all.
Okay, so do they have a significant Hispanic population at this particular middle school?
I don't know the exact breakdown of how many Hispanic students versus other races there are, but there is certainly a diverse population at this school such that it's not all one, it's not all Hispanic students, obviously, or all white students. There's a good mix of students at this
So I
middle
presume
school.
that anyone, I mean, so ultimately there could have been other minorities that were excluded from this Hispanic-only party, presumably.
Yeah, right,
Wow.
exactly.
And I guess who's running that school? I mean, are they adults? It's just it's really it's peculiar to me that it wouldn't have occurred to whomever even came up with the bright idea to begin with, that they wouldn't pause and think, you know what, maybe this isn't really such a good idea, and maybe we should include all the students. I mean, isn't that one of the leftist buzz terms, is inclusive? I mean, I thought that meant including everyone, but evidently, I don't know. There's certain boxes that evidently identity politics boxes that they can check off that trump other boxes. It's very peculiar. So have you had any kind of response from either the school or, I mean, I presume that someone from the school district, someone that resides, family of one of the students that was excluded, that they reached out. How did they get in touch with Will? Because this is kind of exciting that beyond, Indiana's relatively close to Wisconsin, but beyond Wisconsin, and I know that you've represented clients in other states, probably around the country. How did they initially make contact with Will?
Yeah, you're right. This is definitely exciting. We have been expanding some of our efforts to be more nationwide. Obviously, we're the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty because we were founded here in Wisconsin. We're based here in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. However, a lot of the goals that we have, a lot of our internal mission isn't just Wisconsin specific. It is really a nationwide effort. So while we have Wisconsin in our name, we are a nationwide organization at this point. Every time we do one of these complaints or we file a lawsuit and it's outside of Wisconsin, we have more and more eyes on it, more people seeing it. So when we filed our Colby Decker Title VI complaint, that was the issue out of Green Bay, where her son was denied dyslexia reading supports because he wasn't a minority student. This family saw that Title VI complaint and reached out to us to share what happened in their own homeschool district and see if there was anything we could do to help. So we encourage people, regardless of where they are, to reach out to us to fill out our intake form with what's going on. We'd be happy to take a look, and even if we aren't the right people to help in a situation, we'll definitely get you connected to someone who could.
So, who within the Trump administration do you submit something like this to? I mean, you don't need to name names, but is there a particular division within a certain, certain part of the administration that you go to?
Yeah, so under the Department of Education, there's something called the Office of Civil Rights, or OCR. And all of these complaints typically are handled by the Office of Civil Rights under the Department of Education. It's kind of like a subset. But as you're probably aware, and as your listeners are probably aware, there are changes that are happening in the Trump administration right now, in particular with the Department of Education. So we also are ensuring that these complaints are going to the Department of Justice as well. Long before the Trump administration, there have been Title VI, Title IX complaints that were handled by the Department of Justice as well, or the DOJ. It just kind of depends on what the facts are of any particular complaint. So it's still appropriate to send it to the DOJ as well as OCR. So we've been sending it to both just to be sure that it's getting to the right place. But that's typically who we reach out to in the Trump administration.
So when do you think is an appropriate amount of time for the bureaucracy to get back to you?
That is a great question. Obviously, we're in the first 100 days of this Trump presidency, so there's still a lot of changes that are occurring, both with personnel and with some of the departments that are kind of being shifted around a little bit, which for us means that it would probably take a little longer, but we're hopeful that it would be, within a few weeks for them to at least get back to us and say, yes, we're going to look into this further, or no, we're not, because that's the next step. So we file a complaint saying we would like the government, the Department of Education or the DOJ, to open an investigation into the school district, and then they will get back to us saying, yes, we are going to open an investigation, or no, we're not. And then after that, if they do open an investigation, they'll make a determination about whether or not there was a Title VI complaint or there was a Title VI violation that did occur. And if that is the case, the school will have to take steps to remedy that violation, be through, additional training for teachers or for the staff, or, changing some of the school policy, or, something along those lines. Those are the next couple steps in the process.
Public shaming. So, and I guess that's what I'm curious about too, is has the school administration in any way acknowledged that, this wasn't a good idea, send a letter to the parents and we apologize and we won't do this again, or, we'll be more sensitive in the future? Have they done any of that?
No, actually, it's our understanding that no explanation has been offered to any of the non-Hispanic students as to why they were excluded, or, given an explanation as to, this happened, it was wrong, it's not going to happen again. And that's part of the big problem here, right? The school's handling after the fact, after they knew that something happened that was wrong, the sweeping it under the rug is really part of the major problem here, and part of the reason we think that the school is in violation of Title VI.
Well, Lauren Groyle, heavy on the Groyle, thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate it very much. Please keep us updated on any response you get from the Trump administration, and even if the school. When was this? I mean, obviously you put out a press release. Would this have been in the last couple of days that you put this out? So maybe they'll still respond now that they're getting some press about this, perhaps.
Yeah, so we officially filed with OCR on April 25th. That was Friday. We put our press release out on Monday. So this is certainly a developing story very early in the first couple days here, and I really appreciate you having me on, Meg, to be able to share more about this complaint, hopefully get some more eyes on it. And again, if any listeners have anything that they want to bring to us, we'd be happy to take a look at it.
And the website will-law.org, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me this morning. Will attorney Lauren Groyle, I really appreciate your willingness to defend freedom and liberty even beyond the borders of Wisconsin. So keep up the great work. Look forward to our next conversation.
Yes, thanks, Meg.
We'll talk again soon.